You know the look. The eyes go wide, the back end tucks under like they're trying to outrun their own tail. And then nothing but a blur. Your dog is suddenly moving at full speed in an apparently random pattern around your living room, bouncing off furniture, doing a full lap of the garden, then stopping as abruptly as they started and flopping down like nothing happened. Scientists have a name for this. They call it a frenetic random activity period, a FRAP. And the fact that the word random is built right into the official scientific term is not an accident. It's an admission, because for a long time, the honest answer to why dogs do this was, we're not entirely sure. But here's what we do know, and it turns out to be a lot more interesting than they just have energy to burn. The first thing to understand is that zoomies are never actually as random as they look. The movement is chaotic, sure, but if you track when they happen, a pattern emerges immediately. Dogs get zoomies after baths, after being in a crate all day, when you walk through the front door after work, after they defecate, which is its own very funny data point, in open fields when they've been on a lead for hours. What all of these have in common is not excess energy, it's the sudden removal of a constraint. The bath holds them still, overwhelms their senses with unfamiliar water and strange-smelling shampoo, and forces them to endure something they didn't choose. The crate confines them. The lead limits movement. Your absence is itself a kind of constraint. Their arousal at your return has nowhere to go until you walk in. And the moment the constraint lifts, the bath ends, the crate opens, the front door swings inward. Something triggers, not slowly, instantly. A groomer who works with dogs daily put it simply, when they know it's over, all that adrenaline has them feeling relieved and energetic. You're controlling them and making them feel yucky during the bath, and then releasing them, and they are celebrating. That's not just a metaphor, that's a description of what's biochemically happening. During any constrained or mildly stressful state, your dog's adrenal glands have been quietly doing their job, releasing adrenaline into the bloodstream, keeping the body primed. Not full fight or flight, just a low background hum of readiness. Energy is being mobilized and held in reserve. The moment the constraint disappears, that stored energy has nowhere to go except out. The adrenaline fires the muscles, but what makes the frap feel good rather than just feel frantic is the second part of the loop, dopamine. The brain's reward system activates during the run. The movement itself becomes pleasurable. This is why dogs don't just walk off the excess energy. They sprint with what looks unmistakably like joy, because, according to the neurological evidence, that's what it is. Researchers at Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine describe fraps as a way to release pent-up energy and relieve stress, and note that after a day home alone with nothing to do, dogs may feel the need to zoom simply to get relief from hours of understimulation. The adrenaline builds not only from active stressors, but from the absence of stimulation itself. This also explains why zoomies are contagious. Researchers at the University of Colorado documented that a single dog zooming at a dog park routinely sets off others nearby. The behavior operates as a play signal. The tuck and run posture is a form of communication that says something like, "I am not threatening you, I am just going very fast," and other dogs read it and respond in kind. But here's the question that takes this from interesting to genuinely surprising. Adult wolves don't do this. Wolf pups do. They play frenetically in exactly the way domestic dogs do, but as wolves mature, that behavior fades. The adult wolf becomes alert, focused, controlled. The puppy playfulness gives way to something harder. Your dog never makes that transition, and that's not an accident.
When humans began domesticating wolves somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, they didn't just select for tameness, they selected for something more specific. Animals that stayed in a juvenile behavioral state permanently. The scientific term for this is neoteny, the retention of juvenile characteristics into adulthood. It shows up physically in dogs, the floppy ears, the rounded skulls, the shorter muzzle, but it also shows up behaviorally. The playfulness, the attachment seeking, the need for human direction, and yes, the zoomies, are all juvenile wolf behaviors that dogs carry into their adult lives, because that's exactly what domestication preserved. An adult dog is, in a biological sense, a wolf that never fully grew up, not because something went wrong, because something went right, from the perspective of every human who ever wanted an animal that would keep playing with them for life. When your dog gets the zoomies at 3 years old, they're doing something a 3-year-old wolf would never do. And that gap between what a wolf became and what your dog stayed as is one of the most remarkable things selective breeding has ever produced. Now, one practical thing worth knowing, because not every frantic run is a frop, and knowing the difference matters. A happy frop has a specific look. The dog is loose, wiggly, the tail might tuck slightly as they run. That's normal. It just keeps it out of the way. But when they slow down, the whole body goes soft. They might play bow. The tongue comes out. They bounce toward you. A frightened run looks different. The dog is tense, head low, ears pinned back. The tail tucks hard against the belly and stays there even when they stop. The eyes are wide, but not in a playful way. Wider, harder, with no bounce in the paws. If your dog is running like that, they're not celebrating. They need to be calmed, not cheered on. The distinction matters especially after baths and vet visits, two situations where a dog might genuinely be stressed rather than relieved. Watch the body when they slow down. That tells you everything. So, the next time your dog gets that look in their eye, back end starting to tuck, eyes going just slightly wild, you're not watching chaos. You're watching a dopamine-adrenaline release valve that evolution spent tens of thousands of years building into an animal that was specifically designed to stay playful forever. The constraint lifted, the neurochemistry fired, and for about 45 seconds, your fully grown adult dog is doing something a wolf their age would never dream of doing, because your dog never had to grow up. And honestly, looking at the alternative, that seems like a pretty good deal. If this gave you something new to think about, subscribe and drop a comment telling us what triggers your dog's zoomies, because the answers are always better than you'd expect.